Have you ever actually stopped to think about what the word deep really means? I'm not talking about the deep end of a swimming pool or a lake. I mean a place where sunlight is literally just a distant memory. A place where the physical pressure is enough to crush a car into a soda can, and where life had to become something we can barely even recognize just to survive. Welcome to this explainer. Okay, let's dive into this, because the most terrifyingly alien world you could ever possibly imagine isn't light years away in space, it's actually right beneath our ocean's surface.
We are completely obsessed with outer space. The vastness of it, the galaxies, the black holes, it's always captured our imagination as this ultimate mystery. We literally have incredibly detailed maps of the surface of Mars, and we've explored our own moon extensively. Yet here's the crazy part. The deep ocean covers 70% of our own planet, and a massive 95% of it remains completely unexplored. The ultimate unknown is right here on Earth. And as you're going to see, the deeper we go, life doesn't just change a little bit. It transforms into something that feels like it crawled straight out of a cosmic nightmare.
To understand why life becomes so extreme, let's move to and see how this builds as we travel through the oceanic zones. Imagine we're in an elevator going straight down. We start at the epipelagic zone, the top 200 meters. This is the ocean we know. Sunlight, photosynthesis, whales, and all those colorful fish. But drop below 200 meters into the mesopelagic, the twilight zone, and the light just fades away. The temperature absolutely plummets. Here you start seeing things like the hatchetfish, which has these creepy tubular eyes pointed permanently upward just to catch the last dying rays of light. Below 1,000 meters, we hit the bathopelagic, the midnight zone. It is pitch black, freezing. This is where biology truly distorts, home to things like the anglerfish. And finally, drop below 4,000 meters and we plunge into the abyssal and Haddle zones, reaching down to nearly 11,000 meters in the Mariana Trench. Life here is incredibly rare, basically surviving on marine snow, which is just organic debris slowly drifting down from above.
When we look at the creatures living down in these deepest zones, let's be honest, our first instinct is to call them monsters. But they aren't monsters by choice, and it's certainly not a matter of them being evil. It all comes down to brutal engineering. These animals are the physical manifestation of the most unforgiving laws of physics and biology on Earth. To survive in the abyss, nature is completely willing to sacrifice beauty, speed, and even normal shapes in exchange for hyper-efficient, brutal survival engineering. They are literally what life becomes when it is forced to give up everything we consider normal.
To truly grasp just how brutal this engineering has to be, we have to talk about pressure. 400, that is the number I want you to remember. In the ocean, pressure increases by 1 atmosphere every 10 meters you descend. By the time you reach 4,000 meters in the abyssal zone, the crushing weight of the water is equivalent to having 400 elephants balancing directly on top of you. It's an environment that, by all logic, should be entirely uninhabitable.
So how on earth do they survive that kind of pressure, total darkness, and extreme starvation? Well, through some absolutely wild adaptations. Let's take the pressure problem. Creatures like the infamous blobfish entirely abandoned the swim bladder. Instead, they evolved ultra-low-density, gelatinous bodies. And at the bottom of the ocean, under all that weight, this works perfectly. It's only when they are dragged up to the surface, minus that crushing pressure holding them together, that their bodies just kind of collapse into the melting, sad-looking blobs we see in viral photos. Next up is darkness. Over 75% of abyssal creatures use bioluminescence. But make no mistake, this light is weaponized. The anglerfish uses its glowing appendage as a deadly lure in a world where a single meal might be your only food for months. Other fish use faint glowing lights on their bellies for counter-illumination. It basically camouflages their silhouette against the faint surface light, so predators looking up from below can't see them. It's incredibly smart.
Now, what's really interesting about this is the terrifying paradox it introduces: abyssal gigantism. You would logically think that in a world where food is incredibly scarce, animals would shrink to conserve energy, right? But nature does the exact opposite. Deep-sea species evolve to be significantly larger than their shallow water relatives. Just imagine a common garden pillbug, but the size of a cat. That's the giant isopod. It is a bizarre, completely disturbing reality of the deep.
The biological math behind this gigantism is just absolutely fascinating. This isn't some random fluke. It's a calculated, high-risk, high-reward evolutionary bet. The freezing cold water slows down their metabolism, which means they grow much slower, but they live way longer. And because there are fewer predators in the dark, they actually have the time to just keep growing. Plus, those freezing waters hold much higher concentrations of oxygen. But the absolutely crucial factor here is maximum efficiency. In the deep sea, a massive body acts as the ultimate biological battery. It can store vast amounts of energy, allowing the creature to survive for immense periods between those incredibly rare meals. So they don't just survive the abyss, they prosper in it.
And this brilliantly illustrates how the extreme biology of the deep ocean bleeds right into human history. I mean, for centuries, the deep sea was just a cradle for myth. You've heard of the Kraken, right? A giant squid capable of pulling ships into the depths. Science totally dismissed it as just the folklore of drunken sailors. But in 1861, myth violently collided with reality. The French steamship Alecton was sailing near the Canary Islands when the crew literally encountered a colossal cephalopod right on the surface. It was 6 meters long with tentacles like tree trunks. They tried to capture it, but the creature's immense weight and strength caused the ship's ropes to just slice right through its flesh. They only managed to retrieve a small piece, but it was irrefutable proof. The giant squid, Architeuthis dux, was 100% real. And the terror definitely didn't stop in the 19th century. Jump forward to 2020, an OceanX ROV exploring a shipwreck in the Red Sea was suddenly visited by a live giant squid, larger than a human. It just emerged from the pitch black to inspect the machine with these massive, highly intelligent eyes, utterly terrifying the expedition crew.
Which brings us to, well, maybe the most unsettling mystery of all. Back in 1997, NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, detected an extremely loud, ultra-low-frequency sound originating in the South Pacific. It was so powerful it was picked up by sensors over 5,000 kilometers away. The really creepy part? The frequency profile strongly suggested it came from an animal. But the scale of the sound suggested a biological energy far beyond our current comprehension, meaning whatever made it would have to be an animal vastly larger than a blue whale, larger than anything we have ever cataloged on Earth. Officially, NOAA later attributed this famous bloop to an icequake, but the sheer scale of that sound leaves a lingering, uncomfortable question. What if that official explanation is just a comfort, something science gave us so we could sleep at night, ignoring the real possibility of biological energy beyond our comprehension, just hiding out there in the dark?
So the crucial point is, while we're all busy looking for monsters in the dark, we might be totally ignoring the real tragedy of the abyss. It is a devastating contrast. On one side, we have this untouched abyss, a closed biological system hiding ancient secrets and alien biology. On the exact opposite side, we have human contamination. The Mariana Trench, the absolute deepest point on the planet at nearly 11,000 meters, has only been visited by humans a handful of times. Yet before we have even cataloged a fraction of the species living down there, we've already found our garbage. Plastic bags and microplastics have literally been discovered in the most remote, inhospitable depths of the ocean. The really dark reality is that this ultimate, untouched refuge is already bearing the indelible mark of human civilization.
As we wrap up this explainer, there's one highly unsettling reality we just have to face. We have explored a mere 5% of our oceans. That's it. The other 95% remains in total, crushing darkness. And as we've learned today, the deeper you go, the worse it gets. The deep ocean is a closed system, sure, but it's not totally isolated. Occasionally, whether through a navigation error or just a desperate search for food, these highly engineered, hyper-efficient machines of the abyss rise to the surface. They bring a little piece of that crushing darkness right up into our world of light and air. So, the next time you're standing on the shore, looking out at the vast blue sea, ask yourself, if the 5% we actually know contains giant squids, melting blobfish, and bioluminescent predators, what on earth is looking back at us from the 95% we haven't seen?